Perfect. Hi, Caitríona Perry. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Hi, Hugh. I'm delighted to be here and talk to everyone back at DCU again.
Yeah, so it's been a while since we've seen you on our screens here in Ireland. So how's the move been back to America?
Great, yeah. So
Yeah.
obviously, I left RTE at the end of May. There, moved to Washington, back to Washington, and started in the BBC in August. And yeah, everything's going fine so far. It's very busy. Obviously, there's a lot going on in international news at the
Yeah.
moment. A very depressing situation in the Middle East. So it's been very, very busy here ever since I landed. No really,
No off
blooding
days.
period. It's been
Yeah,
straight into it. Yeah.
yeah. So let's start at the beginning. What first drew you to international relations, and was the university a big pull factor in that as well?
Yes, it was. So I did my undergraduate in DCU in journalism. I did the BA in journalism when it was 4 years. I think it's just a 3 year course now. And then I went out into the working world as a journalist and was working for a few years. And I was always really interested in sort of foreign policy, international reporting, that kind of thing. And I really wanted to be RTE's Washington correspondent. So I set about thinking, what other skill sets do I need to get that job? Obviously, I had the undergraduate degree in journalism. So then I decided that a good thing to have would be a qualification in international relations, master's in international relations in my case. So having already been an undergrad, a graduate from DCU, it was for me the natural choice to go back because I'd had a good experience there the first time round. Um, and also the MA in International Relations from DCU. It's quite a prestigious course. It's very well respected internationally. So it was a kind of no brainer in that regard. Also, I wanted to keep working full time while I did it and
Yeah.
studying part time. And so that was an option that DCU offered.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Looking back now and reflecting on your time in DCU, would you have a favorite core memory from it, or was it
Ooh.
all a blur?
Yeah, bit of all a blur, bit of all a blur.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back when there was, a very active student bar scene there when I was doing my undergrad, and we tried to replicate it when I was doing my masters a little bit. But yeah, I mean, favorite memory, just really the spirit of the campus. I think DCU sometimes, when you go into DC, you sort of feel like you're the underdog a bit, with
Yeah.
some of the other universities that are around a lot longer. So I think that gives a good collegiate spirit that it's sort of, DCU against the rest. Um, and, there's a very high caliber of academic staff in DCU as well. And it's quite,
Yeah.
I think, industry focused in the qualification that you have. So you kind of feel when you're coming towards the end of your course, whether it's an undergraduate or a postgraduate, that you're ready for the workplace, maybe in a way that people with their qualifications aren't.
Yeah. So let's move away from DCU and your time in college. And as you moved into the job market, do you feel the career trajectory you had planned deviated from when you first left college, or was it always your goal to be working in journalism, working in America as well?
Yeah, I suppose for me, yeah, maybe I'm one of those boring people that I had a career plan and I've more or less stuck to it. I wanted to be a journalist from I was a teenager, basically. From what I knew, once I found out what being a journalist was, that there was such a job existed, I thought, yeah, that's the one for me. So set about, getting the points in the CAO to go and study journalism DCU, doing that, getting into the workplace, working my way up to get to RTE. And then the Washington Correspondent was a job that I wanted since
Yeah.
I was in college, really. Like, I remember on my graduation day in the Helix there, a gang of us from the class gathered round, and Mark Little, I think, had just been appointed Washington Correspondent. And one of my classmates said to me, "That's the job for you. You're going to have that job." And I said, "Oh, yeah, I'd quite fancy that." And lo and behold, a few years
All worked
later,
out.
there
Yeah.
I was. Yeah. So I kind of hadn't really planned it out beyond then. Like, I hadn't factored in a move to the BBC or anything like that. Because I suppose when you're just leaving college, you're not looking further ahead, maybe then about 10 years or so. But, you know, having been the Washington correspondent at RTE and then having been the presenter of the flagship program, the 6-1 News,
Yeah.
it was kind of a natural step for me then. You know, what am I going to do next? I knew I wouldn't be, I didn't want to anyway. For me, for myself, I didn't want to be presenting the 6-1 News for another 30 years or so. And then, you know, I think if you're into broadcast journalism, the BBC is, you know, gold standard internationally, just in terms of the scale and the reach of the
Yeah.
organization. So to have the opportunity to kind of, you know, step up again from the role that I had onto something else, something bigger internationally, and a bigger challenge, really, that it was a
Yeah.
natural progression.
Yeah. So I get the sense from you, you always had this plan on where you wanted to go. But was there any specific factors that, let's say, guided you to the BBC? Was it right time, right place? Or was it your own strategic planning from maybe a couple of months out from when the role may have come available?
No, I mean, like I say, it wasn't a life goal of mine to end up at the BBC, thing like that. And so I can't say there was very much strategic planning involved, other than, you know, the job came along and I thought, yeah, that's something for me. Thought it
Yeah,
through in terms of what it would mean professionally, personally, and, you know, it was quite a big decision deciding to leave RTE, because that was somewhere that I'd spent a long time getting
yeah,
into, and, you know, professionally worked very hard to get to where I got to be. So it was quite a big decision. But, you know, in life, it's good to have plans to get you to a certain point, but you also have to be prepared, I think, to just embrace whatever
yeah,
opportunities come along at the same time.
yeah. So would you have said your move to the BBC has been a career high for you? Or have there been multiple moments when you look back that you're proud of?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah,
mean, you know, getting the Washington correspondent job was a great moment. You know, being offered the job at the 6-1 was a great moment. Publishing my first book was a tremendous high for me,
yeah,
um, because I'm an avid reader and I've been, you know, writing books, if you want to call them that, since I was a child. So the feeling of walking into a bookshop and seeing your book with your name, your blood, sweat, and tears on a bookshelf, that's quite a special moment as well. So, you know, the two books that would be career highs as well. And then, you know, the job that I have now, is a biggie as well. It's very exciting. You know, I'm one of the most watched TV journalists in the whole world. So
yeah.
it's quite a big deal, in that regard. It's quite a challenge, quite a responsibility, but it's, you know, it's very, very enjoyable.
Yeah. So as you have worked abroad in America and in Ireland, do you feel that the networking opportunities could be considered as the same value as a qualification, or is it really subjective where you fall on that?
I think they're both very important, and their value probably changes a little bit as you move through life. I'm a firm believer in education and the value of education, and I think you need the qualifications to open the first round of doors for you, to show that you've an interest in, you know, whatever your chosen field is, if it's international relations, if it's, you know, development, if it's diplomacy, if it's journalism, whatever it is, or, you know, banking or finance or tech or whatever, but
Yeah,
that you've got that proven long-term interest in something, which, you know, picking a course to study, sticking at it, getting the qualification is very important. And particularly early on in your career, that's what's going to get you the job interview. That's what's going to get you your email read, or someone to
yeah,
take a phone call or meet you for a coffee. And then as you move through your career and you're more and more experienced, networking takes on a whole other life of itself,
yeah,
really. And, you know, for me, having lived in the US, brought up in Ireland, lived in the US, back to Ireland, back to the US, you know, they're very, very good at networking in America. And we're
yeah,
less good at it in Ireland. I think, you know, we're very friendly and all of that. But
yeah,
in terms of networking as a tool, in terms of making a connection and using it, and both sides being
yeah,
aware of the kind of transactional nature of it. You know, a network isn't just lots of people you've met and business cards you've collected. It's actually having a connection with somebody.
Yeah.
doing something for them, they do something for you. And I think, as Irish people, sometimes we're not so great at kind of selling ourselves and bigging ourselves up because we think,
Yeah.
oh, that's going to sound
We're
like
too
I've got a
proud.
big
Yeah.
head or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, oh, look at that one,
Yeah.
he's got notions, or fear of getting above your station or whatnot. But
Yeah.
I've noticed in America is people are so straightforward about just saying, oh, this is me, this is what I've done, this is what I'm really good at. Can
Yeah.
I meet you for a coffee or something like that? Or, you know, you're chatting to somebody and they find out what you do and they say, oh, my daughter or cousin or nephew or whatever is really interested in that. Would you mind meeting them or having a phone call with them? And so you do. So then that person kind of owes you something nearly.
Yeah.
And so a network is very important, particularly, sorry, I'm just going to take a quick drink of water here.
Oh, no worries.
Particularly the higher up you get in your career, jobs that you're going for aren't necessarily advertised.
Okay. Yeah.
They're more jobs that you're approached about or headhunted for or whatever. And again, if people don't know who you are and what you're about, those opportunities aren't going to come to you. So I would advocate, whatever point you're at in your career, the qualifications absolutely matter, but also you need to be constantly aware of when you meet people, kind of filing them away in your head. And,
Yeah.
and that might sound very hard, and I don't mean it in that way, I'm very kind of ruthless. It's not that at all. It's just the world is a small place, getting
Yeah.
smaller all the time by virtue of technology, and so you can connect with people and reach out, and no great opportunities, great adventures are going to come to you while you're sitting at home waiting on your phone to ring or an email to ping in. You have to go and get them. And a way of doing that is meeting as many people as you can,
Yeah.
particularly who are in your field of interest.
Yeah. That all makes sense. Yeah. So you've obviously experienced a lot. So what would be your best advice on how to overcome or deal with any professional disappointments? Maybe a job rejection, or is it just sort of if you get knocked down, you have to get back up again?
Absolutely. If you get knocked
Yeah.
down, you have to get back up again. And that's not just career advice, that's life advice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, nobody waltzes through life getting everything that they want when they want it. And your view of yourself and what you're ready for may not be the same view that bosses have of what you're
Yeah.
ready for, and what your work level is or your experience level is. So, it is just a case of put yourself out there. Like I say, nothing's going to come to you. Don't assume that people owe you something, that you're
Yeah.
owed great opportunities. You have to go and seek them out. You have
Yeah.
to go and make sure that when you're going into the workplace, sorry, that you're bringing with you the best skill set, the best toolkit that you can gather. And, while you're at university is an excellent time to do that. You're getting your base qualification, but also, can you set yourself up with a bit of work experience? Can you learn an extra language? Anything like that that's going to help
Yeah.
you down the road in life.
Yeah. So do you feel like the challenges that AI is going to present in the future will impact, especially younger generations moving into the workplace? And also, in your own opinion, what challenges are AI presenting to news and journalists like yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
think AI, we know a certain amount about it, but the possibilities with it are just endless at the moment, and it's
Yeah.
evolving at such a rapid rate as well. It's particularly concerning for journalists because could we be replaced by
Yeah.
AI?
Yeah.
Images can be generated that look so realistic. Voices can be cloned. Writing can be cloned. Some of it's very poor and very obviously not the real thing. But as the technology evolves, being able to figure out what's real and what's not real, I think, is going to get harder and harder. And particularly around fact checking and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What's an original source? What's truthful and accurate, and what's something that a computer program has pulled from all parts of the internet. That's going to prove even more problematic.
Yeah. Um, that's a lot of information very quickly. So thank you for that. I think we'll finish up on the final question would be what is your would be if you could put it in one sentence or pick one thing, what would be your best piece of advice on navigating the transition from getting your degree to getting the job you really want?
I think to think of it, it's a cliche to say something is a marathon, not a sprint, but that's true
Yeah,
about your career. When you just leave college, you think, have to get somewhere, have to get at it, have to make it by the time I'm 25 or whatever. But actually, it's a long road. In Ireland, in particular, almost every industry is quite small. You'll come back upon anyone that you meet. So
yeah,
try not to annoy anybody.
yeah.
Try and, um, make as many connections as you can, be as helpful as you can, seek out opportunities for yourself, put yourself out there, even when it's uncomfortable to do so. Find out who has the sort of job that you think you might like, make contact with them, harangue them if necessary until they answer your
Yeah.
email. You know, people are very busy generally, so if someone doesn't reply to your email or your phone call or your old fashioned letter, don't lose heart. Send a
Yeah,
second one. Keep at people. Keep putting yourself out there. The first job that you take, probably not going to be your dream job, but it will
yeah,
probably lead on to your dream job. When you get into that first job, make your business of making sure everyone knows you, whether that's chatting, in the lift or at the water cooler or whatever. But the more you can put yourself out there and tell people what you're interested in, what you would like to do, can you shadow them for a day? Can you chat to them
yeah,
about what their job is like? And, so you're always looking ahead, even
yeah,
if that first job is not the one you love, that you're like, okay, well, that's the one I would like. So how do I get there? What does that person have that I don't have? And the more experience you can get, and just put yourself out there, and don't be afraid. And there will be rejections and there will be hard knocks. Don't take them too personally. Get
yeah,
back up, like when you were a small child learning to ride your bike. You got back up and you got on it again, even if you
yeah,
had a bashed up knee, and just keep
yeah,
going. And yeah, you'll eventually get there. And lean on DCU as well, actually,
yeah,
because obviously you've the great network that you're making there in terms of your classmates and where they'll land. But also, by and large, most of the teaching staff have come from industry, so they might be able to help you as well. They might have some connections and some advice. And yeah, the alumni as well, of course.
yeah,
And
exactly.
most of all, good luck. Enjoy it.
Okay, that draws to a close our interview. So thank you very much for joining us this evening. We really, really do appreciate your time. So
Great.
make sure
Thank
to
you.
like, comment, and subscribe.
Thanks, Hugh, and good luck, everyone.